Hi, everyone. It's me, Queen PR, one half of those wrestling girls. Welcome back to our Patreon. I have a very special guest with me today. I don't know if this is a Words with PR. I don't really know what exactly this is, but we are literally like fresh off a really big weekend for Black wrestling. But I want to welcome Brian H. Waters from the Wrestling Realm. Hey.
Hey, what's up? Thanks for having me. Even
Yes,
though,
anytime.
even though, and when people know when I pick up the mic, we get serious. You specifically told me last week at
Mm-hmm.
Black Wrestle Fest, I'm booking
Mm-hmm.
Thirsty Thursday, but you're not invited. July 21st, and I'm gonna have Hugh and Dwayne on, not you.
I mean, because you've been on our show a lot. You're one of the first like male guests that are on our show.
Which is
And I
wait,
think
wait,
that's
repeat that. Repeat that.
that you're
I'm
one of the
the.
first one of the
You
first
can just say you hit this first. Yeah, there you go.
you're one of
You
the
can say
first
first.
male guests on our show. You've probably
The
been on our
first.
show more than anyone that has a penis. So you should be very you should feel very, fortunate. Because remember,
I
we were
am.
like female only for a
I
long time.
remember. I remember.
So yeah, but you've been always been like a part of our family, very supportive,
Hmm.
and I feel like this is a good place to start. So we're hot off of Black Wrestle Fest, the first annual Black Wrestling Convention presented by Pretty Heels, and it was a first for many different things. I actually got to meet your podcast family.
Yeah, finally. Yeah, you got to meet the realness himself, the real Dwayne Allen. Of course, you hit him with the line that everybody does.
I didn't know
You're
you were
so
so tall.
tall.
He's what, like 6'6", I think you said. He said.
Yeah, 6'6", 6'7".
Oh wow. Yeah, he's tall. And I know people are familiar with the Wrestling Realm story, but you actually been doing this, creating this content for like 10 years with Dwayne, right?
11 now. We just
Sheesh.
actually was it June 20th? So yeah, we're really going
This
into
is you
year.
guys.
Oh wow, we're literally going into year 11. Sorry, as we speak.
Wow.
Um, it's funny. I was actually on Father's Day watching the old promos with my dad, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is too long. But if you go on our YouTube channel, it's organized. Go to promos, you can see it. But yeah, and we added Brother Hugh, who's also right there on the screen. He was always around me. So me and Hugh been best friends since 6th grade. And so he's always been around the restaurant, like going to, events with us. But he really became like a member around 2016, 17 as far as like our marketing guy. And then this year he was like, bruh, he just hopped on the show. It was like, all right, you're a part of it. So it's great. It's great to have it was a great time to be there with my brothers. Like right there, that picture means so much to me. I'm literally standing next to two of my best friends in the world.
Oh,
And two people who I know if I'm in a bind or something, I can call them, and without hesitation, they got me.
I love that. And you could definitely feel the brotherhood. So I was able to meet Hugh at the Takeover STP show,
Hmm.
and instant vibes. It's like, me and Hugh get along very, very well. Great sense of humor, which I always appreciate in people. But I had never met the real Dwayne Allen. So it was cool to like actually meet him. And of course, because he's one of your, longest and best friends. And then for the three of you guys to now be together at Podcast Row, like I
Mm.
feel like that was monumental for your brand in a lot of ways. So what did it mean to be a part of Podcast Row for Black Wrestle Fest? And then what did it mean to be a part of it with like both of your podcast brothers?
I mean, you do this stuff, right? And everybody like wants to build their audience. They want to be recognized. No doubt about it. Anybody who say, "Oh, I'm just doing a podcast because I love it," you lying. You do it because you do want to be recognized for your hard work. And then, you want to branch out. You want to go meet people. You want to talk to people. To do this with my brothers meant a lot. I came to y'all party. That was so much fun. We was at Wrestlemania. That was so much fun, without a doubt. But still a missing element, You
Yeah.
still gotta tell the stories, and you still gotta like try to remember everything. But to be there, like it just made sense for this to be like our first event if would love to do more podcast roles, but the first one had to be Black Wrestle Fest. You think about like shout out to Danny and all the work that she's done, and Miss Brooklyn Diva, all the work she's done to put that on. Why not be a part of something that's orchestrated by Black women? And to be right there with them, and at one point, just we recorded a show. It's coming soon, and I can't wait for everybody to check it out. Me and Dwayne sitting there, and I'm like, I told you, we came to New York, and I'm going to give New York its flowers. It's a couple things on the internet you might see here and there, but every time I come to New York for wrestling, it's always love. Between the people such as yourself, your co-hosts, and your business partners and friends, such as the other podcasters, it's always love. You feel the warmth. Y'all got a Southern vibe. Hey, y'all don't want to hear that,
That's where you lost me, though.
no, listen. No, the hospitality, because so I remember I lived in Connecticut for 2 years, and when I lived there, it was like everybody just kind of went their own, whatever. Only time you get that warm feeling, literally, is when you go to church. When I worked at ESPN, you get the warm feeling from the people who were literally born in the South because that's all they know. But every time I come to New York, it's like y'all consider yourselves rude, but this core group of people are more Black than they are in New York. And their Southern Black roots was like, you family, we got you. That's not what you hear. It might be a little secret, but that's not what you hear. Like down here, you think, oh yeah, you go up to New York, people gonna be rude to you, this, that, and the other. But you come up here, you're part of this Black community, people treat you with the utmost respect. And that's that was just amazing. I can't even begin. It was just so amazing.
Yeah. And I think that's one thing I love about that event is that, that New York stereotype that we're all mean or just like that competitive edge that we all have. I mean, we have it. Don't get me wrong. It's a blessing and a curse sometimes. But when it comes to wrestling, and I got to shout out Jabba Tears always for this, when it comes to them bringing together Black and brown and like wrestling fans, there's nothing but love. There's nothing but support. I always put over Jobber Tears because when we started when Krista and I started our podcast, they could have easily got territorial. They could have easily got all these things. But they literally put us over from day one. And that really empowered us to like keep going. So I love that you said that, especially being from Baltimore.
And if I can add on to that, because I got to give them their flowers too. Again, y'all anniversary party. I walk in the building and Sir Wilkins, it was love. And then he gets on the mic. We got the wrestling Wrealm in the building, and boom, there's a pop, and I'm like, okay, never had that before, and again, could have been the thing where it's like, oh yeah, that's just Brian H. Waters, he's here, whatever. But that love there, and that's what I said, y'all hardcore, whatever, y'all gangsters or whatever. But Baltimore, we already come with a chip. We got a chip, because people think we just body more Murderland. But
I have heard that about
Maryland. We're blue collar city. We work hard, and when you get to see your hard work, I heard you pay off. We get to see your hard work pay off in other cities and states. It means a lot, even when we got to go to Maryland or DC.
Right. Can I actually pull up the picture that me and Krista B took at that event?
Yeah. Wait, which event?
Because at our party.
So
Mr. Brian H. Waters has been on this amazing like health journey that has inspired me. And let's just say, like, you look great. You look great at our party. You look great now. But what I loved about, and just going back to, you're welcome, Black Wrestle Fest, and then comparing it to our event, is that was your first time kind of being in that Black Wrestling New York family. And then, like you said, there was that one piece missing. So I'm so glad that, and he wasn't at that event either, but he saw the vibes at like the show. But how did they like being a part of Black Wrestle Fest on that Saturday? Like, what was some of their feedback, and how do you think being a part of that event has impacted like the future of the wrestling realm?
Well, I mean, you'll get their feedback on July 21st.
Ah!
Like, nah, but in all seriousness, everybody had nothing but great things to say. You always thinking about, okay, everything got to go right because it's a long car ride back. you know, um, we've been like working together with a lot of things. Me, Hugh, and Dwayne. At one point in 2016, we was working with Fox Sports 1340, and we was working with a couple of like other up and coming podcasters, and trying to get them over. And we was working with young journalists that which a lot of them I'm super proud of. One of them is a broadcaster for the New England Patriots. She's a dope black woman. Shout out to Tamara Brown. But we was working with these people, and we went to this big party, and the car ride was like, man, some of the stuff was cool, some of the stuff I don't know, some of these people ain't got it, whatever, whatever. This ride back was a lot of fun. Everybody just talked about, they get it, they see why. Like Hugh saw a taste of it twice at Fight Club in DC, and that's when we saw Big Swole versus Trisha Dora.
Wow.
That I was low key upset y'all wasn't there because y'all would have really enjoyed. Shouts out to Britt Waters, who me, her, and Hugh was like front row, and Black Wrestling and Jabba Tears, and everybody was, and Terry from We Love Wrestling and Suzette Victoria, and Danny was there too. You see like those pictures, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is in the Wrestling for the Culture intro, just like the picture from your party, and you saw everybody there, and that's the thing. When they talked about this, they was like, okay, we see the vibes, they understand why it's such a party, you know what I mean? And like I used to get a lot of FOMO last year when I would see like every time, like, oh, going to Legends, this and the other. And then me and Britt talked about it, and she was like, yeah, I had to go do some radio in New York, and it was on pay-per-view day, so I'll go to Legends. And I'm sitting there like, man, I wonder if there's a way I can figure out. We don't know yet. I ain't gonna make no promises, but and if there's I mean, my shoot job is kind of in New York, so it wouldn't be too bad to have to maybe go.
I'm gonna plug your shoot job because it's like the coolest thing ever. But I'm sure you guys have seen Brian H. Waters. He's a part of the Ring of Wrestling crew. He's one of the producers of like Macmania, and yeah, that's the main one. The Book of Wrestling, which also is a very good wrestling podcast about like basically all of the catchphrases that move the needle. Is that a fair
that shape
way
the Attitude Era?
Right.
So we're going in order. Next up, the Montreal Screwjob. But we just did 2 parts to Suck It, and we did Die Rocky Die. Pillman's Got a Gun. Austin 316. Which is what I was like, I can't wait. Knowing you as an Austin fan, I was like, I can't wait for you to listen to this one.
Yeah, and there's a lot of like because WWE kind of makes their own history. What I like about Book of Wrestling is that it kind of debunks a lot of the narrative that they've framed around certain moments, which I think is fun. And I don't want to. That's not a knock on WWE. Their storytelling and how they recap things is probably one of their specialties. But I like that there's podcasts like Book of Wrestling where it's like it didn't really happen that way. I mean, it still was a magical moment and it changed things in the Attitude Era, but it's not exactly like that. And like you get to spend your time like researching the Attitude Era. Like I don't is there anything cooler than that?
It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. If there was any things that might be transcribing when you got to think like you have to write, suck it, something like that. Like, wait, how many times? Rewind. How many times did you say this? But you really see when you actually put the type in the words, you really see how great they were at promos. So it's cool. Check it out. I appreciate it because I put a lot of time and effort. So check
you really
out Book of Wrestling.
And you produced those Wrestling Girls appearance on The Masked Man. Fresh from Dallas at WrestleMania. So yeah, Brian H. Waters has a really cool job. You're very welcome. But back to Black Wrestle Fest and Podcast Row. So when did you first kind of hear about Black Wrestle Fest? What were kind of your expectations of it, and then what made you want to be a part of Podcast Row?
I think I feel like what they said, they announced it on Martin Luther King's birthday, if I'm not mistaken.
I never made that.
I could be wrong, and Danny definitely told me during the interview, but I know like after coming out of the Wrestlemania bubble, I knew like, okay, I'm looking at all right, what's coming up? What I want to do, whatever. And that was one of the things that, especially after we had talked about the Victus Pro show. So I was like, kind of putting the calendar together. So it was Victus Pro, Black Wrestle Fest, Black Girl Magik. Like, so what made me, look into it, and I saw, like, I hit him up with the inquiry, asking about it, and I saw, like, wait, are they gonna have this and these, just these events and all that? That's what made me say, oh, I gotta be a part of this. We gotta go. So, we had a strategic planning meeting, and during the meeting, that's when I said, we talked about it and it made sense. So
Yeah.
I was really happy everybody was on board and able to go, because, like, and Dwayne will tell y'all, whatever, if he on the air, what he told you. But I was just happy that we was able to go, able to be a part of it. It was just something like, oh yeah, the wrestling realm has to be there. We've been doing this for so many years, like I said, 11 years, and there may not have been a physical show in every calendar year, but there's always been like some sort of social media content, some sort of reactionary photo or graphic to somebody winning a championship. Like, we've always done stuff. So this was like, I'll tell you this. I'm for I can say what I want on here, right? Like, I can.
Absolutely.
Yeah, of course, it's those wrestling girls. For everybody who said your little wrestling shit, that's what it was like. Mic drop.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
everybody who said that shit is fake, yeah,
Yeah.
you're doing that bullshit. That's what this was for,
Yeah.
and
I love that.
it was like, I was really actually thinking about posting the photo and said, "Oh yeah, this is where your little wrestling shit gets you," because it
Ooh.
was for like, and I've been told, like, all right, bro, we get it, you say it all the time, but nobody really understands what I went through. And it's not a pity party, not a pity party at all. But I say that honestly to tell people to always go after what you want, always pursue your dreams. Because it's easy. People will always try to say, oh, you don't need to do this or you don't need to do that. That's not real, this, that, and the other. But I say that to tell people, like, go for it. Because if I'd have stopped, when I would have stopped watching wrestling in
One.
8th grade, if I'd have listened to people. We're talking 2000, right? Think about all the stuff I would have missed. WWE buying WCW. Um, Trish Stratus was my favorite women's wrestler of all time, becoming a icon as a wrestler, going from model to wrestler or diva to wrestler. I would have missed Jazz, who's a pioneer for Black women, who's somebody I had the pleasure of meeting in 2012 and sitting there literally talking scandal with Jazz at dinner. At dinner.
Jesus.
And then we ain't even gonna get into your favorite year, 2018,
Yeah. Oh my
the
God.
whole women's evolution. Oh,
Great
like,
time.
so I tell people that, and to me, there was a time, I stood there and you mind if I jump the shark?
I don't mind. You could do anything you want, Brian.
So when I looked at Dr. D, I sat there and I was like, first of all, I knew that when we walked in and Doc saw Dwayne, it was going to be a moment because he, like, Doc been there pretty much from the beginning. Like, 2012 was when we started. 2011 when we started hitting those shows. Like, soon as, like, okay, we created the show. Oh, by the way, our boy Brandon, shout out to my boy Brandon Guy, the real Belt King. He was like, yo, we got I'm going to the show RCW. Y'all want to come? And that's where we met Doc. That's where we met Corey. And as we met them, Doc instantly became a brother. And he always looked out. You know how he when you first met him, he knew exactly who you was.
Yeah.
It,
Yeah.
it,
I met him in Baltimore. So it was I had a moment with him because I met him in his hometown. And then now I'm
that
seeing him
ain't his
again in my
hometown. He gonna get on you.
hood.
He from Jersey.
I know he's from Jersey, but like that's where he lives, right?
No, he live in DC or Maryland.
Isn't it the same thing?
No, it's not.
I know. I just like, you gave me an opening. I had to take it.
So he was like, but like, to be there, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, this is a guy who's been doing this longer, probably endured more than what I had to because of his love and passion for the business. And that's why I was like, yo, I want you to talk your stuff because I know how many wrestlers he put over and how many podcast personalities he put over every time he goes to a show. And Doc would hit Jersey, Delaware, New York to go to shows. So, when I'm sitting there and then I was looking at everybody and I thought about, because I remember when I was talking to Dwayne about like different people, one of the things he said was like, yo, I like those wrestling girls. They like the women version of us. Like
I'm so
the
glad you said that.
the way we click. So it was like, yo, we all in the same place. We all in the same place. Yeah, we was trying to like get your attention when we took this photo and you was networking. So
I wanted to pull this picture up because
mhm,
they're he said, yo, we're the female version of you guys. And it's like, I feel like me and you are probably, the most similar.
mhm.
And maybe Krista and Dwayne are. And I was like, oh, wait, I have a picture of like the three of them. And you can see how tall Dwayne is in this photo.
It's funny because people kept watching the videos that we had on loop, and it was like, so wait, Dwayne just towers over y'all doing. I'm like, yo, so funny story. When we first did the show, if you look at season 1 and season 2, we're sitting down, and I didn't realize people couldn't tell. I'm like, I see him every day in school, and so I knew like, okay, but people. So the first moment we did a show, for season 3, which was like we just republished it last year. I was showing the Attitude Era.
Mhm.
We both standing up, and everybody's like, "Wow, I ain't know that." I'm like, "Oh, I guess you couldn't tell if he was sitting down."
It is one of those things. It's like, oh, okay. And
Mhm.
it's like, what I do love too is like what we were all able to kind of get to know each other like more over the weekend is that Hugh and Dwayne now probably aren't going to miss anything from this weekend.
Right.
They're like, yo, this was a vibe, because it's easy to talk about it. Brian H. Waters, you have always been in the mix. Like, you've never not been in the mix. Like, you're one of the first, wrestling content creators that I came in contact just through social media only.
Mhm.
And so you've been doing it, you've been the face, but to see now Dwayne and Hugh sort of, coming in and seeing everything. And now it's like, now Wrestling Realm, all of Wrestling Realm will probably be, a part of
Yeah,
things.
yeah. Like I said, I'm looking forward to Black Girl Magik. Today I was sitting there and I saw that there's something going on at our Pro Wrestling Magic, and I'm like, man, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to make
So
it to
many
Richfield.
shows, like so many
But yeah,
shows.
because we'll probably talk about this at another point. But it's just Lala running her mouth, the Jay Bougie, and then I'm like, wait a minute, now I'm trying to bury the hatchet with Jay Bougie, and he a little stubborn, he just turned 25. I bought him a drink, and he sits up there and
Happy
goes on the
birthday, Jay
internet, yeah,
Bougie.
happy birthday, and I'm trying to like, bro, like we good, and he's like, no, man, you POS. I'm like. So, I was happened to be home the next day, and my Baltimore heads told me like, "Yo, see, that's why you don't mess with them New Yorkers." I'm like, I got people I love up there, but he just not getting it. But then Ruthless Lala came at him, and she said she'll put this pause on her nephew with Isaiah because she got to take care of him. And I'm like, wait, no, you don't mute my brother.
Right.
Like I keep trying to tell y'all, but you and Hugh keep making it about Crocs. This ain't about Crocs right now. This is about stop because nobody wins when the family feuds.
That is a true statement, right?
We have to get Letty involved because she'll straighten stuff up.
She will. And I do believe you would feel differently about the Crocs discussion if there was not like footage of you wearing Crocs. So, but that's, what, like you said, it's not about that. But the fact of the matter is you've worn Crocs. So even, we're going to move forward, with our beat, whatever. But like that happened, Brian H. Waters. So I just want you to like, just admit that right now.
Admit what? I wore Crocs. We've admitted that.
You wore
There's
Crocs.
footage.
Okay, but would you buy a pair and wear them?
You know the answer is no.
You say no, but I don't know.
You wear them.
But I do want to pull up one photo though that
Mm-hmm.
I think was cool. Because these are kind of, well, I mean, yeah.
It's funny
But
because I don't have I ain't get no like pre-production photos, so it's like I'm seeing it first as y'all seeing it.
you
Oh,
lucky I
what a
even
moment!
asked you. But
What?
this was a moment.
Yeah, this is. I didn't realize Hugh was raising the people's eyebrow. So
Wait till you
he used to do that in 7th grade all the
what?
time. And see, he could always do it without closing eyes. Me, I always had to close like one eye, but he would always do that.
I can't do it. Wait, now we have to zoom in. He is.
Yeah,
He's
I'm
good
telling you.
at it.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that's hilarious. Oh wait, we can't see me. That's a problem.
Mhm.
But yeah, moments like these too, because
Mhm.
I'm a sentimental person and you're a photographer, so and you're everything, but you understand like how important it is to capture moments.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is one of those moments that we're like all gonna look back on. And just to talk about the love, we've talked about before. Brian H. Water's been on the show to talk about coming to our event and having all the t-shirt changes because you wanted to come and you wanted to show support. And I'm looking at this, and Doc has on a Wrestling Realm shirt
Yeah.
on top of a Black Wrestle Fest shirt,
Mhm.
and came up to me at least twice over the weekend, like, where can I buy your merch? Where can I buy your merch? Where can I buy your merch? That's the love that we're talking about. Now, Podcast Row was, I would say, like a podcast showcase. I don't know how you would describe it. It was a
Yeah.
podcast
Perfect.
showcase. People came. Shout out to Hardy Wrestling Podcast. Stephanie came from Alabama.
Shout out to her.
Right. Oh, such a sweetheart. And we'll get to everyone we met, but and then we have Women's Wrestling Talk, and their branding and everything is always, top notch. Then on our side we have Wrestling Realm, those wrestling girls, and then Dr. D. And that could have easily been a space where it was a competition, whoever comes to the table, coming to our table first kind of situation.
Yep.
But it wasn't like that at all. It was more like catching up, family reunion, what's been going on, can I buy your merch? Like, that is, I think, what makes something like Black Wrestle Fest special. I just got a
Mhm.
message from Danielle from Pretty Hills this morning, basically saying, like, thank you so much for everything that you did. And she said it at the event, like, these sorts of things don't happen without us. Like, and Corey, I want to shout out Corey that's in this photo. My kicks are my fix. And these are,
Yeah.
like, no one in this photo besides me and Krista B, shout out to Krista B, live in New York.
Mhm.
And I think
So
that's something that should be said.
if I could put over my brother Corey for a second,
Mm-hmm.
one of the nicest people you can meet.
100%.
He's gonna crack a jokes like you heard that messy crack when I was on the panel. That's the ongoing joke, and we are here to tell you, like, as the show is in, a lot of pink and black, that Bret Hart is greater than Shawn Michaels. But
100%.
yeah, but like I said, one of the nicest people you can meet since day one. I'll go to him a lot of times. Like, people see my belt collection, right? I go to him like, Corey, what you think about such and such? Oh yeah, man, this is good, this, that, and the other. Especially if you get it like on a secondary market. One time I almost bought the one before this one from somewhere, and Corey's like, I don't know, bro. Let me check mine because it don't have something. Little stuff like that, right? You remember when we took the picture with Mello Hayes with the Jordans?
Mm-hmm.
I've been chasing the Jordan 12s for literally since 5th grade. I always wanted those shoes. And I remember Corey was like, "Oh, bro, you can get them." And he showed me where.
Wow.
So, like I said, literally, I've watched this guy go to wrestling shows, hand his belts to kids so they could get that moment, you
I
know,
love
and it's
that.
something that I've done, but it's like you get a certain type of joy when you do that for a child
Mm-hmm.
because they get to take the picture, they get to show it to their friends, even when you let adults hold it, like, hey, can I hold your belt, take a picture with it? I
It's
mean,
a
you remember,
moment.
it's a moment. Like I said, I
The
know
first
which one you chasing.
oh,
I, I
God.
I actually have a picture with it. The evolution belt. He brought it to
This is a
SmackDown.
very sensitive topic, so I want to move on. So Corey collects belts. As you can see, Brian has a pretty awesome belt collection. I don't have any belts
Yeah.
yet, but the one that I want more than life itself probably is the evolution belt. That
I
goes with
hate
the
that they
color
don't.
is so vibrant.
I hate that they didn't like put it on WWE Shop for a long time.
Right.
Like, come on, bro. They don't be surprised if they re-release it. I don't know if they will, but don't be surprised.
Oh, I can see them doing that, especially like
Yeah.
if they need to, distract us about something, and that shit, you fucking distract me from that. But I want to talk about, so you kind of actually pulled double duty at Black Wrestle Fest. So those, if you don't haven't heard about Black Wrestle Fest at this point on our channels, then I don't know where the fuck you've been. But it was a 2-day wrestling convention with a focus in Black content, but it was an inclusive event. In
Mhm.
addition to Podcast Row, there were panels, there was a film screening, there was a wrestling match. Shout out to Battle Club Pro. Like Brian H. Twitter said, we're going to go live talking about all of that. So there was a lot going on. And one of the things I was most excited for were the panels because I'm a big
Mhm.
panel person in general.
Yeah,
And
you was front row like everybody. I was like, that's support.
oh yeah, I mean, for one, I love. I like. I don't know. I like that type of shit. I love hearing people's stories. Corey
Mhm.
actually did a really good panel on the history of sneaker culture in wrestling,
Yep.
and that was eye opening to the point where I kind of think I want to have him on and have
Oh.
it like recorded to talk about the history of it because he was dropping gems about, and I think it also goes to the argument, and me and Brian talk about all the time is wrestling has way more of an impact in popular culture than
Mhm.
mainstream media like to
I
say.
I know you saw the little sneaker show with Nikki Bella going to buy shoes, and
Yep.
that was one of the things he talked about. You
Yep,
know?
yep, and I was glad the Carmelas, the Liv Morgans, even before that, he was bringing up people I never even thought to look at their sneaker game, and now when I'm watching clips, I'm like, oh shit, like sneakers that have never been on TV before, like wrestlers have debuted, and it just shows you we like wrestling is a huge part of all those things, including sneakerhead culture, which
Mhm.
Corey is heavily a part of, um, but yeah, his panel was really good. So talk a little bit about the panel that you were on, and how that came to be and what that experience was like.
Man, I mean, one, to be on there with like 3 other respected media personalities, journalists in the business was an honor. And Tyrese Simon, Sir Wilkins, who was hosting, and Cal from who's Black Wrestling, and he's also we're colleagues at the Ringer. That was amazing. Just to sit back and talk to him about we're just talking about what it's like to be in the media, covering wrestling, and more importantly, covering the Black wrestlers, highlighting the Black wrestlers. We know about the BRP 50. We see what Tyrese is doing, featuring podcasts for SEC schools. Like that's a big deal. Thank you for plugging us, and just kind of making that connection early at on podcast route. Sir Wilkins, I like that's why I love Sir Wilkins, right? Because I would look forward on in the morning on Instagram to like the coffee talks. And then, he hit his
Mm.
line, all is well, and he did a drink. And then and I had an opportunity to be on one of them. And it's just a lot of fun. Like he brings energy. But then also
Yeah,
like,
that's definitely
the
what he brings.
yeah, and then the stuff with him and Queen Alex with whom I had a pleasure of meeting at Wrestlemania. We was all back there with the Street Profits and Kaz and Dave and Emilio before Wrestlemania got started. And but like being up there with them and just being able to talk about different things, you know, um and really, me and Cal really educating people on the fact that Stone Cold Steve Austin has a bigger cultural impact in the ring than The Rock. And it was hard for people to understand that, you know what I mean? It was really hard
Mhm.
for them to understand that, but we had to let them know, but and then even it was a great vibe, and I was really honored to be a part of it because that's like one of my goals. A good
Mhm.
friend of mine told me to do like write down 100 goals. I don't know if you ever had that assignment, but because I'm trying to write down like 100 things I want to do in my career. And I'm sitting there like that was one of them, and I was like, "Boom!" I got to check that off. So it was pretty cool.
I enjoyed your panel.
Thank you.
And one thing I do like about like panels first off, or like my words of PR interviews, and like being on breaking through glass ceilings podcast, is you get to know your friends. Like
Yep.
you're interviewing your friends that you've known for a long time, but then you ask them certain questions, especially ones that are journalists like yourself, Brian. Because you're always the ones asking questions, because podcasters are always the ones asking questions. I like hearing you guys on panels, because it's like you get to learn. It's like, oh shit, I don't know. So I really enjoyed the panel. And one thing I enjoyed too was I had just met the guy Tyrese from SE Scoops that day. I've known Cav, actually sat next to him on a panel. But then still actually discovering new things about you guys was really cool to me.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was just so much fun. I can't even begin to, explain like how much fun it was, and and I mean, the women's panel. First of all, let's talk about like how they all the panels just like were well paced. You go back to the wrestling and drip panel, the designer panel, but Stephanie Hardy, the moment, and I told her, like, I remember when she got to interview Trish and Lita, it was, she was on stage when she posted that picture. I marked out because I had her on the show and I've been following her work. And you know how we are. We root for people, and we see people in our community doing this thing. We root for them because we want to see them hit all their goals, make all this money. It's when you really think about it, let's be real, it's enough money in the media business to go around. So everybody wants to see everybody succeed. So I was like, when I saw that, it made me mark out. But then to like hear her talk about it and see how much joy it brought to her and you and Krista, it was like amazing.
That was such a moment. Like
You had to be in the room. You
you
just had
had to
if
be in
you
the room. You really had to be in the room. She had me shedding a tear. Because again, like what we said, like why we do this. Why? Because um we could watch wrestling every week, nothing. But we chose to create careers out of creating content around wrestling. And Stephanie
Mhm.
Hardy on that panel reminded us like why.
Yep.
Why she came to New York for the first time to come to Black Wrestle Fest. I just came across this picture of you and Sir Wilkins on the panel that I want to share real quick, because it
That's why
just shows.
was I telling him that he wrong for his Sting take?
I don't know, but he is 100% wrong
Yeah, I
on
was
his
gonna ask
Sting
you.
take.
Yeah, Sting is
Yes. And
overrated.
then we
Mid.
also got into I don't know if it was during the women's panel, or maybe during this panel, where it was like the Rock or Stone Cold, like who had a bigger cultural
That's
impact.
what I was saying earlier.
Yeah. It's like, oh, Stone Cold, of course. You're a smart man. You said
Mhm.
Stone Cold, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
I
good.
said Stone Cold.
Okay,
I said me and Cal. I just said me and brother Cal educated everybody on why it was
but
Stone
you
Cold.
are a Rock fan a lot of the times.
I like The Rock more than Austin, but I'm not stupid. I know which one had a bigger cultural impact. Everybody cannot be The Rock, right?
Mhm.
Everybody can't go to Hollywood. Only John Cena did it, and Sasha Banks, right? Who could
Right.
use, but and not that everybody can be Stone Cold, but everybody you have a bigger chance because if you follow the formula of being yourself, turn it up a notch, and the cultural impact of trying to beating up your boss, you have a better chance of being Rock than Austin and Rock. But the culture, like when that glass break, like Cal said, when that glass break, it's nothing like it. You can hit it if you smell what the Rock is cooking. It's like, oh, but that glass break, think about WrestleMania night 2. Night 1, we knew it was coming. Night 2, we didn't, and it shocked everybody.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. But one thing I did also want to touch on when just talking about Black Wrestle Fest, and we touched on it when you talked about Doc, and I'm so glad that we were able to give him his flowers that night, because again, he doesn't do it for that. Like
Mhm.
he does it because he loves wrestling and he wants to bring it to that younger generation. So what I
Mhm.
love about you is you've helped me, of course, in so many different ways. But you never hesitated to. You have always been a resource. You've
Can you
always
make sure
been.
you tell Sloan that I never hesitate? because he
Yes.
on Twitter, because he always saying I'm Brian Hesitate Waters.
That's good.
No, it's
That's
not.
yeah, that was good. I love it.
He keeps saying,
Um,
after that count, that he keeps calling me Brian Hesitate Waters, but like you just said it best, I never
I
hesitate.
mean that you never hesitate to help. But I do want to bring up one of your so you have like a million mentees.
Hmm.
But I do want to bring up Steven because he was someone who so everyone that comes to like New York to one of our wrestling events or something like that or hangs out with us, we welcome them into our family because the Black wrestling our family is everything. And Dallas changed a lot of things for a lot of
Hmm.
reasons, for a lot of people, different facets of life. But I want to talk about your, quote unquote, little brother, Steven,
Hmm.
of Season Media.
Who I was mad
So
couldn't be there Saturday.
yeah, so he was there. So the wrestling Wrestling was there Saturday. But Steven was there on Sunday with me for the second day. So how did you meet Steven? Tell us a little bit about him. You guys have seen him on our platform before, but this was his first time kind of getting involved in Black wrestling media.
So, my bad, the velvet drop. So when I was working with Fox Sports 1340, and we was trying to build, that's why I, accumulate a lot of my mentees. We was trying to build a platform where young journalists could get, kind of get their feet wet, start
Hmm.
writing, start covering stuff. And Steven was, I think, yeah, he was a freshman in college, and he was a computer major, computer science major, something in computers. But he also wanted to learn, he wanted to do media stuff. And
Hmm.
so, he inquired about the internship, and I said, all right, cool. And I said, well, what do you do? He said, well, I do sports, I do wrestling. I said, okay, you're a wrestling fan, you definitely gonna fit in. I said, well, what you watch? And he started talking about PWG and Ring of Honor and New Japan. I said, oh, wrestling, no wrestling. My first thought is I can get off Twitter. I can get off the Twitter feed because now you could do some of the work. Um, and we just clicked immediately. I would literally watch him like grow. I remember when he would like have the camera or something like, no, Steven, do it this way, this, that, and the other. And the biggest thing was he was receptive to criticism. He the thing is, like, when you work with me, I'm gonna tell you like it is. Because if I show you the wrong way, you're gonna get upset. Now I'm gonna be nice about it, but some people just aren't receptive to criticism. But Steven was, and he's been a little brother ever since. So I remember when he said, bro, I'm going to WrestleMania. I said, let's go. And he said, man, I want you to introduce me to everybody. I said, say less. So
Like no problem.
yeah, so we get to Dallas at Wrestlemania, and I see him. It's like, man, first time seeing him in a while, because I actually missed him at Survivor Series. He couldn't make it to y'all party, and then at Survivor Series, and I'm mad because there was like an extra seat next to me, and I'm like, man, I could have told him to come down, but whatever. But yeah, so he yeah, we talked, and just watching him there at Wally Mania, and I'm like introducing him to wrestlers that I knew, obviously y'all, different other media people, and he was just like, okay, cool. Even a couple people in the WWE, and they're like, wait, we're doing trials tomorrow. And people say that's your little brother, but he's a big guy. But to see him thrive, and he was the person I like handed my chain to before the match, when I had the ref. I was like, I was able to do the homage to Razor Ramon, and so he took the chain. Now it's funny because he was talking about that second false finish, and you go back and watch on IWTV, Takeover versus STP, you see y'all two sitting there. You're saying I counted to two, which was accurate. And Steve was like, no, he counted to three. He counted to three. But it was great to see him out there working yesterday.
Yeah, it really was. And he reminds me of because he's young, he's like fresh out of college. He moved to New Jersey and New York area to start his media career. And he's been a wrestling fan. So for him to go to Wally Mania, be introduced to everyone, and then join our family,
Mm-hmm.
and then him reaching out to us being like, I want to start my media career. How can I get involved? And I just kind of was like, do you want to, create content with us? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're not at a point like this ain't a salary job right now, but I would love for you to create content around it. And I was, thinking like, oh, I hope he has a good time. I hope it feels like it's worth it to him because the second day of Black Wrestle Fest was a little more chill because it was more about the Battle Club Pro show. And I was like, I hope he has a good time and feels like it's worth it, and kind of find out, he was so grateful of, I followed your lead in introducing him to literally everyone, handing out his business cards. And, because he's approaching this as a potential corporate type opportunity, he brings a certain ambitious energy that I appreciate. And, and it doesn't surprise me because, like, you know, anyone I think can call Brian H. Waters like their mentor is probably one of the best people ever. You know what I mean? Because, like, I mean, look who they have to like look up to. So, having Steven there on Sunday without you per se, but still kind of holding his own, and, understanding why he was there, and got the most out of it. And I think, like, that's, I think, is important, is like opening that next door. Like, I don't like to think of myself as like old or like seasoned or experienced, because you know how I think. I think it's always just the beginning.
Yep.
But Steven reminds me that I can still think that way, and then he can come on board with his energy, because it really is the beginning for him, and then like make things like even more like successful than they could have been before. But then at the same time, giving him that opportunity that he's going to take it and run with it, because he's hungry and it's his first gig. So I really love that he can like be a part of that.
Yeah, and I mean, you just look at, like, obviously we're not old, we vets, but we ain't old. But you look at the young gunners and him and Jay Bougie, and two different aspects, right? If I can break kayfabe, you see that young energy, but you also see that intelligence that they got early. That wisdom. A lot of times younger people gotta go through growing pains because they don't listen, and that's the best part about those two, is that they listen, and that's what's going to take them real far.
You keep going in and out.
Oh man, I was sitting there like, listen, waiting for you. But did you?
No, you like went out a little bit. I didn't hear the last part that you said.
Oh, I said that that's what's gonna take them far. Guys like Steven and Jay Bougie, they were younger, but they had that conventional wisdom. They listen, they humble, and they like, okay, what you say? What can I do? What can I make this do better? They seek the right feedback.
I agree. Exactly. Because they're fresh eyes, like looking on it,
Yep.
No, that's so true. So I would like to now kind of, because we're going to be doing a live stream, recapping it. Brian, I hope you maybe can join us for that. And on July 21st is our July edition of Thirsty Thursdays. We're going to have Brother Hugh and the real Dwayne Allen on for the very first time. And maybe you could be on it too.
I'm crashing. Well, I'm gonna have a link anyway. I'm coming with Amber. I'm gonna wear.
Shout out to that shirt, by the way. I love that design.
Oh, thank you. She told me which way she wanted it, and I made it work. I designed it.
Ooh,
So
love.
yeah. So yeah, this was the Dexter version. Go to her merch store on her website. I mean, on her Twitter at @1Amber Rodriguez. But you can get this one. She just dropped a brand new shirt that I also designed, the Beetlejuice design, but it's Amber. Which was fun. I was like, oh wait, I pulled this off. But she also has a few by her other friend who's a designer, who did the saw and the nip tuck designs. And then there's a Trust Me I'm Professional, and then there's also the Hannah Montana, which is just in her name, but it's in the Hannah Montana font. So shout out to Amber. She'll be on Thirsty Thursday. That's been a booking. We've been waiting to get going, get her on those wrestling girls. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
Happen. It's totally gonna happen. Everything happens with the right timing. And speaking of timing, I love that Black Wrestle Fest. So we had Danielle on a couple of live streams to promote the event, and she talked about sort of like the thread of the inspiration that led to doing Black Wrestle Fest. And it was a lot of different factors, not seeing representation on TV, seeing that we have friends that are doing it on the ground level and being able to support them. That was one of the reasons she did it. But also was the fact that the Black wrestling community, whether you're a wrestler, promoter, commentator, media, is, we're doing it. We're out here doing the work, and we like getting together.
Mm-hmm.
So, so it started, Pretty Hill's been, bringing people together through wrestling before, and then connecting with Jobber Chase, who's been doing it for 10 years. And then Jobber Slam last year being like the first not the first, I'm sure, but one of the first all Black wrestling card as a part of Battle Club Pro. Then us being so hype and people coming into town being like, okay, we need an after party. That led to us doing the meetup at Madison Square Garden, the first live show that I had been to after the pandemic. We did a meetup for that. Then that led to us, wanting to do another like actual party for our third anniversary event. That's where me and you met for the first time. That's where, so it just kind of just like, and then Dallas was like that next big family reunion moment. And Danielle, like, she made a good point. She was like, okay, if you guys want more Black wrestling content, and like, to take, it ended up being a convention because it was so many different things. It's not rocket science. Let's do it.
Yep.
And she, she did it. And it wasn't just her. And, I definitely, and she is very humble in the fact that it took a team. It took a team. It took us supporting the movement.
Yep.
Because Black wrestling media's unity, sometimes on wrestling Twitter, you don't really sense that it's real. But I will say anything that we've done in New York, that's based in New York, and our family has been real and authentic.
Well, let's keep it 100 though, right? Because most of the time, the haters that come on Twitter ain't the ones that's in the mix,
Right.
And it's like y'all be just hating for no reason,
Right.
and I ain't think I was gonna get a bad vibe, but I didn't know what the vibe was gonna be. I knew it was gonna be like loved by like y'all and whatnot,
Right.
but when I came to New York, it was like loved by everybody. I was like, oh man, it's different. Then when they had Fight Club in DC down the road in the other state or district, because it's not the same. It was love there, right? You had just like that brunch was just so much fun. It was like the pregame party. Because I remember like talking to Janelle, and she was like, I was like, well, ain't gonna be no after party. She's like, look, I'm gonna be ready to get on a train, get back home. So, I was like, all right, brunch, I can make it. I said, I'll be coming right at the church, but so you wear like your casual church clothes, you throw on the shirt after you, and then you get going. You know what I mean? And Brother Hugh pulled up, and this was like his first time being welcome in the mix. He was like, oh, whoa, and then Brother Hugh, he coming out with the big guns with the camera, because like as like you brought up earlier, it's about capturing those moments. Shout out to Keith Mack. Like I mentioned earlier, I mentioned a lot of times on Saturday, like, me and Keith used to work at ESPN together. So in Connecticut, and we would sit there. This is the early days of the network, and we'd be walking the hallways like this, just watching a match, watching NXT, because it was like NXT on Tuesday nights or Wednesday nights at the time, and it was before it went to USA. It was on network, and he was out there capturing the moments. Him, and y'all photographer, and that's the thing. Like, well, you could go back and look at those moments, like you said, like I sent y'all pictures from y'all party, and I was like, man, and this is where, I gotta put over Letty again, because he was like, oh yeah, I could do this. I was like, oh, thanks. Now I can really like have fun, and she captured the moments just like she did at Victor's Pro. And yeah, and it's just so much fun. And because it's just that vibe, and everybody get to see like that vibe of this is what happened when you put all these Black people together that love wrestling, because we probably all have a story somewhere. I may have told you a story when I went to Philly for SmackDown, and my friend Vanessa was like, Brian, I thought you was the only Black person that liked wrestling. And she saw like we was in the crowd, like it was a lot of people, So I mean, I love us.
Me too. I love us too. Especially because we show up and we show out. I have to show this photo from that event.
There it is.
And
shout out to Rich.
Yes, and this is on our poster, the promotional poster that we got for the podcast Wrealm. And I was gonna just put our logo on it, and I was like, you know what, I think one of our selling points, and I think one of the things that makes those wrestling girls special is the fact that we do bring people together. Like, we're not just behind screens, talking about wrestling. Like, no, we're a fan community, and that's
do y'all know how hard it is to get people together to take a photo?
Brian. You have no idea. So at the battle after the Battle Club Pro show, which was kind of the main
I
event of
saw
Black
because I was
Wrestle
jealous
Fest.
because we were supposed to do one Saturday,
I
but we got our photo, the
know.
one you showed earlier, so
We
that was
did, we
cool.
did, we did. Yeah, it was cool. And I wanted to get a photo of like all the black women that were there because I was all over the place at that show and I just saw how many black women were there, like beautiful black women, that were there enjoying wrestling. And that's people think that's such a like mind-blowing concept that there's like beautiful black women that enjoy wrestling and know their shit. But
Mhm.
that event, like you mentioned, was planned by black women. Like
Exactly.
we do that shit. And trying to get that group photo was so hard.
Yeah.
And it's like, because you got to get this one, you got to get this one. People start talking, they walk away, blah, 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 blah. So we did try to get a Black Girl Magic photo. Watch our channels, we'll post it eventually. But this photo is so, like, just some of the people that are in, this photo. You see Sir Wilkins and Janelle and Mr. Black from Jobber Tears right in the middle. You have me, Dre, send all the peace sign. Krista B is, where is she? I don't know where she is on this,
Right
but
behind you.
um,
She's right
she's right
behind you.
behind me. She's right behind me. Black
And I'm
Announce
behind
Table,
Mr.
Black
Black
Wrestling
in front of
Podcast.
Math
Oh, look, there you go. Yeah, so this was a moment. And like this photo
and
is the
Drip.
background and Drip. And that was the first time that Black Wrestling was ever in the same room recording together. So it's like all these
Yep.
moments that we're creating, you know what I mean? And it's not forced. It's like people that are really passionate about wrestling, is passionate about what it can do to bring people together, passionate about how it can, bring together community. And Black
Hmm.
Wrestling was just another stepping stone, and I already can't wait till next year.
Yeah, I can't either. It's definitely gonna be amazing, and even I went to we have the African American Festival down here in Baltimore, and since I decided to come home the next day or later that night, but I went past there and they had C3W, which is another black owned wrestling promotion, and I was telling us, I said, man, you gotta get the Black Wrestle Fest. He's oh yeah, such and such, but I think we're gonna be doing stuff here for the African American Festival. I'm like, yeah, that's cool and all, but you know, you gotta be up there at least one day because it was worth it. I mean, the drive to and from it made it all worth it.
Um, yeah, it really did. So before we end this, because I do want to leave some stuff for our live stream, what would you say? Like if someone saw all this on social media and they're like, Brian H. Waters, what did I miss about Black
Mhm.
Wrestle Fest? What was it? And like, what was that like special thing that happened that's like, it's gonna be there next year too, kind of thing. Because I think about like Dallas, and I think about like how cities feel when WrestleMania is there. There's like that electricity in the air,
Mhm.
because everyone's just so happy to be there. I feel like Black Wrestle Fest was one of those moments where you knew you were like a part of something like
Yeah.
special.
Oh man, I mean so much, but I would say the main thing is just being in the building with all the black wrestling content creators. And that might seem
Mm,
like a cop out, but you can't put a price on that. You can
right.
go to the shows and see a couple people here, a couple people there. I just thought about something I had to tell you after we finish. um, but you can't put a price on what it means to be in that space. You know what I mean? Because to be able to just network and see what other people are doing and really show off what you can do and really showcase your brand, that that's priceless. That is priceless, because you are part of something special. So that's the biggest thing. Like
Yeah.
that's why, like to me, all black podcasters should be there. Nobody, like, let's be real, nobody's the same, right? Um, some people may have these numbers, some people may have those numbers, but nobody's the same. Everybody, like I always say, black people are so diverse. People try to put us in a bubble. All black people say, no, we're so diverse. I think we're more diverse than any other nationality or background. And I'm being
100%.
100% biased. But you really see that in wrestling, and you really see that the way everybody create their content, right? If I want, you know, if I just want women's wrestling talk, where else I'm going? Those wrestling girls, duh. If I want wrestling from a perspective, I'm going to Black Wrestling. You
Mm.
know, you want fun people with three buddies that's sitting around acting a fool, not taking any of this seriously, but we enjoy what we're doing, and we're gonna make some skits because we can't wrestle. So we're gonna make some wrestling skits. You come to the wrestling round. Like I said, my mother and my sister and my father decided on Father's Day, let's binge watch these wrestling round promos.
Oh, I love
You
that
know,
though.
and then if you want a breakdown in the indies and you want matches, you go to Dr. D's showcase. He gonna break it down and all that. So we different.
Yeah, no, it's
And
so
there's other ones,
true.
but we different.
Yeah, I can't wait for next year. But there's a lot of things happening between now and then. Of course, we have in August. Well,
Mm-hmm.
no, I'll start with BlurredCon in DC, right?
Yeah,
July 8th or 9th, I believe.
I think it's
Um,
it's that weekend. It's usually
that
like 3 days.
weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. So it's that weekend. And then we have Black Girl Magic, August 19th.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have Jobber Slam 2, August 20th. And I can announce, because if you weren't there, you don't know probably. But the main event at this moment, card subject to change. The
Wait a
main
minute.
event,
Wait a minute. What? We getting breaking news?
we are getting breaking news.
All right, let me
Yes.
sit back for this one.
The main event for Jobber Slam 2, which is a show hosted by Battle Club Pro and Jobber Tier. Shout out to Miss Janelle from HR, who's a co-owner, one of the first Black women to co-own a wrestling promotion. Anyway,
Shout
the
out to
main
Janelle.
event, right? She's a queen. Of Jobber Slam 2 on August 20th in Brooklyn, New York, will be a championship match between
Okay.
current Icon champion Big Swole
Mm-hmm.
and, are you ready for this?
Yep.
Mia Yim.
Whoa. Okay.
So it's like, yo, shit is fucking happening.
Mia Yim back on the scene.
Like,
She's my first wrestling interview.
oh
No,
wow.
first women's wrestler. Uh, Back in 2011. I'm so grateful to her. I needed to interview her for a school project, which I turned into some wrestling realm content. But I needed to interview her for a project, and she was like more than willing. I was actually, I don't know if you met Larry Legend. I was interviewing him, and I'll tell that story off the air. But yeah, Mia Yim, she was just, I mean, phenomenal. Gave me, and then any other time, like I interviewed her a few times after that, and I always tell her like I'm so grateful to her because as I was, grinding, increasing, in my career, she was always more than willing to let me interview her, even from the wrestling realm to Fox Sports to, I gotta get her on again. I'll probably try to see if she'll let me. I know she wasn't doing interviews, but we
Yeah.
we different. I rode with her drove her, and she was in the backseat sleep, to the first WrestleCon in 2013. So maybe maybe she'll do
Maybe.
the
I'm
interview.
also gonna manifest her coming on either Jobber Slam recap or Jobber
Hmm.
Slam preview
There we go.
on those wrestling girls because she's a friend of the podcast. She's been supporting us, following us, supporting us from a long time, and I'm sure we've told that story, especially with Brian H. Waters on the air. We told that story because we gave Miriam her flowers when she, in the beginning, and we're gonna continue to do that. And we're gonna continue to do everything that we can for women in the wrestling space. I love that this year has brought us into the indie scene because me and Krista, we have talked about it, just wanting to get more involved just because again, what we want to see is
Hmm.
happening and it's being done. And it's being done by a lot of our friends. So it's
That,
like
that, that that's one of the things Doc taught me early in the game. You know what I mean? Is yeah, we can easily be mad at what we see on TV and whatnot, but let's pay homage to these people in the indies, and so that we can support them. And as they rise up to the top, we can be, one of the day ones.
right, exactly. Um yeah, exactly. But this was fun. I
Yeah, thanks
cannot
for
wait
having me.
to, of
I always
course,
have fun when I come here. Tell Blue that I made the most appearances.
you have, you really have. Oh, I can't even deny that now.
Yep.
But I'm
I
sure
was
you'll be on again.
Yeah, I'll be back.
Yeah,
And we'll
I
have to
love
get you
it.
back on the wrestling round.
I know, right? We definitely do. And then I didn't show my shirt. It's actually a Tasha Steele and Kiera Hogan Fire and Flame
Shout
shirt
out to
that
them.
shout out to them. And I've actually seen Tasha Steelz wrestle a few times live. I ran into her in Dallas. She's so nice. She's so approachable.
Mhm.
She, at the time of recording this, she dropped the championship, but she actually took the belt off of Mickey James, if I'm not mistaken,
I think so.
which is huge. So I
Mhm.
definitely want to give Tasha Steelz her flowers and also manifest her being on the show.
Absolutely.
That'd be cool.
Yep.
Yeah. And shout out to the BRP 50 too.
Yeah, we recording tonight, so Wrestling for the Culture for that will be dropping Tuesday.
Yeah.
And we're gonna do a recap. Well, the annual. This will be the third time. And the funny part is the show just keeps getting bigger every time. The first
Mm-hmm.
time it was just Fam, Math, and Cal. The next year they added Drip. It was like Brian H. Waters. We got a new son. You know how Math is. And
Mm-hmm.
then this year they added Mimi. So that's what's great, just watching what they do over there, and their support for our brands has been phenomenal too. So we definitely, give a shout out to everybody.
I love that. I love that, Brian H. Waters. And of course, we all love you.
Appreciate you.
And I just want to thank everyone for tuning into those Wrestling Girls Patreon. And, your support, as always, means everything to us. We're actually going into planning our 4th anniversary event. I know we've been talking about our third year one like forever, but we are actually in the process of planning that. It's probably going to be either in October or November. Of this year. So just, follow us, stay tuned, and we will, announce everything. And yeah, we love you all. And thank you for tuning in to those Wrestling Girls Patreon. And we're out. Brian, you want to do a quick social media plug and we out?
Well, I guess I can't tell everybody go to my table like I did Saturday. I wasn't being arrogant. I literally looked, nobody had their phones out. So I was like, just go to my table. There's everybody right there. But yeah, just at Brian H. Waters, Google me. But yeah, Wrestling Wrealm spelled with a W, as you can see it on your screen or in the description. Follow us there. Make sure you subscribe. We also have a Patreon. For as little as $1, you can get exclusive shows that I do. $10 you can get, more shows like Realness Reacts and behind the scenes content and all that stuff. Well, $20 for behind the scenes content. But yeah, check us out. Also comes with free promo code for the merch. Free shipping for the merch.
Nice, nice, nice. Thank you so much, Brian. And thank you so much for tuning in. And we're out.